All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Let me lay out the video for you. We are headed out on a 10 mile right now. Then we're gonna get back. We're gonna go over the week. It was kind of a down week. Open up Strava, take a look at this run, and then we will be getting into a review, my version of a review of the On Cloudeclipse, which I'm currently running in. I've done 100 something plus miles. We'll talk about that later, but so if you're just here for the review, because I'm guessing I named the video after that, because that'll be like the main block of the video, you can skip ahead. I'll put chapters in. So if you're only interested in the shoe, do that. But I'll take you on this 10 miler, quickly review the week and what we'll be doing next week maybe, and then we'll talk about the On Cloudeclipse. So it's a beautiful morning here. It is cool, high 50s, t-shirt, shorts kind of weather still, thankfully. Yeah, it's gonna be dry, cloudy, early morning. A lovely day. Let's get it. Three miles in. Been cruising. So far I've been thinking about the video I'm gonna make later today, how Crystal Palace is faring against Liverpool. Yeah, keeping a little bit of an eye on the heart rate, but I know I'm going slow enough that whatever it says is fine. Always kind of combining perceived effort with whatever the number is being shown to me. You can't just trust the number. Ultimately, you know how you feel. So yeah, 3 miles in. Keep on rolling. Almost at 7 miles, hanging out. Kind of weird not taking gels. I feel like I have less to look forward to. I will say my heart rate seems to be spiking a bit on the wristwatch, and I don't feel like I'm pushing it any harder, so I'm not gonna lie, I took heart rate off on my watch, so I'm just gonna take it easy, go by feel. I don't know, I feel like it was causing more stress than it was doing good, so we'll keep on rolling, finish this up, and we're cruising.
Okay guys, we are back in the apartment. First time recording a video in the morning in a long time. It is the next day, so we're gonna give this a whirl. Like I said in the beginning of the video, shoe review on Cloudeclipse. It's coming, I promise, just another minute or two. We're gonna go over that workout and a little bit of the week and just the fact that it was a down week. So yeah, first things first, let's jump into Strava. We'll take a look at the run, and there's pretty much just one thing I want to acknowledge and bring maybe awareness to. Okay, so when we're looking at this week, I mean, I'll just give you a quick recap before we build up to the 10. We did 4 on Tuesday, easy peasy, weightlifting on Wednesday, 6 miler on Thursday morning. I did put in running after lifting. Generally is kind of my hardest day of the week. You're running sore a bit, and I tend to definitely be a lift the next day, and sometimes 48 hours after a lift is when I get super duper sore. And then the 10 miler. So we rested on Friday. Thankfully we had an early Monday rest, and today is Sunday, as you can see in the recording. We'll open up the 10 miler. And there's pretty much, there's really only one thing I want to go over here. You saw the footage. It felt low effort. It was a cool day. It wasn't like, conditions weren't super harsh. The only thing I would say that was different is I did not bring gels. I left them at my parents' house, and honestly, I was just working this week and I didn't get to Fleet Feet or anything to pick up a couple gels. So I figured for a 10-mile low effort, I would just mix in some Powerade into my flask, and that was kind of my electrolytes. To get me through the 10-miler, I've done up to like 8-milers without any hydration really, so it didn't seem like a huge deal, and I doubt that was a factor. But yeah, well, I'm honestly just gonna take a look at. I'll pull up the heart rate, but mainly let's take a look at these splits, and you'll notice it was mile 6 is when my splits really came down. And this is when I realized that my heart rate started doing some spiking kind of into my threshold portion zone. We'll call them zones. Into my threshold zone. And this was something that like, I was kind of just like, what the heck's going on? You know, I'll ease off a little bit. Maybe I was stressed for a moment. But it kind of continued for a mile or two. Let's see, this is where I hit my highest. Miles, so into miles. Yeah, this is when I'm seeing, you know, a 173, 6.5 miles in. So that's something that like, I was trying to really ease off my pace to bring that back down. That's something that, you know, if you were training hardcore to your zone 2, you would probably walk a little bit there just to get that heart rate all the way down to probably like 130, 140, and then start jogging again and maybe settle back into that high 140, 150. I'm by no means, you know, a stickler for training inside the zone. I have other things to do. I needed to get home by a certain time. So I did ease off. As you can see, you know, I ended up doing about a 45, 50 second slower mile there. And this was really to just kind of like manage that situation. And it just kind of continued. I mean, there's not much elevation on this route, so it wasn't really that. You can try to pinpoint, you know, 1,000 things of what was going on there, and I think the only thing I want, like I kind of prefaced this with, is I still ran 10 miles. It felt just as easy. If I wasn't wearing a watch, I would have never known that my heart rate was spiking. I'm sure there's reasons in my life that it was spiking, whether it was I didn't sleep great or I had, you know, too much high octane coffee that morning. I normally have half caffeinated coffee most days, and I actually had some cold brew that morning. So maybe I was over caffeinated. You can go down any sort of rabbit hole, but bottom line, it felt fine. It felt normal. And if the numbers weren't in front of me, I would have never known. So I think my kind of point to this, and I'm glad that I was filming while running because this does kind of hit home on things. You know, it is 50-50 on gadgets and metrics and all that stuff. And then the other 50 is how you actually feel. And you know your body better than anyone. At the same time, you know, if things don't feel right, that's when you ease off, even if the numbers do look good in the reverse situation, right? So my whole point here is, and I forgot to turn my phone off. My whole point here is that this whole game of running, and especially if you're sticking to something like low effort running, just trust yourself, learn to listen to your body. I tried to make adjustments during the run, but I'm not going to be hung up on this for weeks saying like, oh, am I not, is my fitness not getting any better? Are things not, am I doing something wrong? Like, there's only so many things that you can go over, and a one-off like this where you have some heart rate spikes, just keep an eye on it. Keep running, stick to the plan. If you feel good, you're doing some things very right. And don't be too hard on yourself when you see something like this. I digress. That's perfectly enough on that. That was the only real point I wanted to hit home on. I'll bounce back to my overall training log. Regardless, that was almost 2 hours on feet for the morning, 10 miles. I also went and worked. I shot video and photo for 4 or 5 sporting events at the college that I work at right afterwards. So that's another thing of like, you might have other things to do. I couldn't have just stopped and walked the whole time. But it caps off, a 20-mile down week. This was kind of a recovery week. I did 4 weeks building up. So we had kind of 35, 39, 38. That was a wedding week where we were going to a wedding. And then that 43 miler that was in the last video. So 4 weeks building, 1 week down. I lifted a little bit harder. We still did some miles, 20 miles for the week. You got a mini long run in there. A note on that, I just like the structure of building for 3 or 4 weeks. Hopefully you can build these into your training plans. Honestly, I like building them into training plans because realistically, your life has certain weeks where you might look ahead, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and you're like, oh, we've got so-and-so's wedding, or so-and-so is doing this, or I have, you're in school, you've got exams that week or something. Show yourself a little bit of grace there, I think. And just, maybe plan in around that as a down week, a recovery week, so that your body can kind of shift your focus. Okay, I'm really sorry. We're probably like 10 minutes into the video right now, and we are going to do a review of the On Cloudeclipse. But also, I'm just going to set this out there right now. This is not going to be a review that is in depth, in the weeds about the materials. This is going to be a quick rundown, so I can give you kind of some specs, stats, the things I think you generally need to know, but you can easily get from the internet. I'll grab the shoe now. And I'm literally I have the On website right in front of me. But I think there's certain specs that I will give you, and then we'll get into kind of just how I like the ride, how I like the fit, and in general, I guess how I ended up choosing this shoe as a main shoe, and why I think, who do I think it's perfect for, maybe. I'll throw that kind of in there. Side note, this was sent to me from On, no stipulations tied to it. They're not expecting any videos. They don't get to see this video before it comes out. But not that there's anything any too harsh in this video. So I think everyone should be pretty happy in that department. So consider that possible bias in terms of cost of the shoe versus, pros and cons. So that's up to everyone out there. I'll give my 2 cents on that once we get into it. But a couple specs on this shoe. It's a max cushion. It's a road running, neutral shoe per the website. There's a 6 millimeter drop from heel to toe. So a little different for me. I'm used to an 8 millimeter drop. The difference of 2 millimeters, you be the judge. And then, honestly, the only real thing is lacing system, normal, standard, I guess, is what they would call it. Upper mesh is really stretchy, definitely more of a textile feel than a plasticky feel. And the tongue is built into the upper. That's something that I think people like to know. Minimal cushioning, I'd say, in the heel, just more up around the collar of the heel. And then as you get back into it, it's more of a hard, just kind of heel cup. It does come with, obviously, an insole. I run with the Super Feet low arch insoles put in, so I don't want to really speak to the insole that it comes with. It's general, it's generic, it's soft. It does the job. And I guess one thing I would say on the lacing is I kind of wish, I know they have a more gripped lace that comes with the Cloud Monster Hyper, and those laces are awesome. So these ones, when you pull them tight, they kind of automatically loosen a little bit. So I haven't really figured out the best way to lace these up and get a real snug fit or tie down, lockdown purely from the lacing system. It just kind of loosens a little bit before I can get them tied. I guess to that point, I have further things to say on like the overall fit of the shoe. But the silver lining for me is I only take these on slow, easy runs. That's all I'm really doing right now. So I don't need them to be kind of like race tight. By no means has that been a problem. It's just kind of a note. I might honestly get different laces to put in here so that they stick a little bit better. Last note is I think it's held up really well. 150 miles I've done in this pair. And I would say aside from being a little bit mucky because it is a gray and white design, they're totally fine. And yeah, we'll get to kind of Helion midsole. That's kind of their foam, super foam, as I believe they call it. I believe they call it super foam. Yeah, to absorb impact. It is unique in that the midsole is not, it's not like super duper, it's not Zoom X. It's not super duper soft. It's not super soft. And so I think they kind of, their description of it is combining kind of soft with a firm material, so that they can kind of get the best of both worlds. And then obviously the cutouts, they kind of give you that design element of a little bit of compression and then, ideally the opposite, giving you a little bit of energy return, I guess. And I do kind of feel that, I will say. It feels firm, almost like a classic shoe, but with certainly amount of cushion that, I don't know, it's kind of refreshing, I would say, compared to other max cushion shoes, in that it still feels like a shoe that you aren't, sinking into. So it could be one of the best shoes, I would say, as a firm ride, and probably the closest thing to energy return. I don't know. That's just my opinion. It does have what they call a speed board in it, which, you can see it a little bit right there in the midfoot. It does extend a little bit, I believe, kind of where the pads, these rubber pads kind of are. I'm guessing, it functions ideally similar to the nylon plate in like the Endorphin Speed. It gives you that little bit of pop, a little bit of rigidity, if you do feel like they're too soft. And I think if you are going to take these shoes a little bit quicker, then it might be kind of like that's the element that might make this shoe more of a possible threshold shoe, along with kind of a zone 2 recovery shoe. All that being said, I should mention now, it comes in at 285 grams. I'm guessing that's a men's size 9, I believe, what they normally kind of regulate these things at or weigh them at. So 285 grams, about 10 and a half ounces, for those who want the ounces. So it's a fine weight. It's a fine weight in that for a max cushion shoe, if it's around 10, I don't know the difference when they're on my feet. As long as I think then it becomes a mental thing. If you feel cool in them, they're a little bit lighter. If you don't, they kind of feel a little bit clunky. I feel kind of cool in these, so I feel like 10 and a half is nice and light. I feel like it is honestly mental beyond that. Outsole, minimal damage, 150 miles. Some cutouts up the middle. I've gotten just like leaves and mud dried and stuck in there. No pebbles or anything have gotten stuck in here after, but yeah, 150 miles. Same with the cutouts, the clouds, which honestly, that's probably like people's main concern when they haven't ran in an On shoe is, hey, don't things get stuck in there? Well, so far after 150, no, nothing has gotten stuck in the shoe, in the cutouts, in the central cutout. And yeah, I think the grip is good. It seems really durable. I think it'll still be here, and you'll still be able to see the little designs in here after 300, which I'll keep running in these. There's no reason to stop. They're good. Maybe that's the only review you need to see. They're good. I do want to talk about the fit though. Overall, the fit, I'm learning more and more about my own feet the more shoes I run in. I have a pretty narrow foot. So this is an okay fit for me. It's far from perfect. It's decent in the heel. It's okay in the midfoot. And it's a nice space, I would say, in the forefoot toe box, that whole spiel. But it is a little hard for me to get a lockdown with a 10.5. 10.5 is what I normally have in across the board. So I think these run true to size in the sense, I think these run true to size with a teeny tiny bit of room. Not that you should order any other different size. I literally went to a store and tried on a size down just to see how it felt. And the length was just not there. So this is definitely the best size for me. So true to size, 10.5 for me. But I would love to see or try an On shoe that maybe is a little bit tighter fitting in the heel / midfoot. And even a tiny bit smaller in the forefoot, but like that's asking for a lot. So yeah, if anyone out there runs in a lot of different kind of On shoes, let me know on maybe a tighter fit, a more snug heel midfoot that I can still crank out a lot of miles in. These are very cushioned, yet they're firm, and they honestly feel like they're going to last like forever. Like if your average max cushion shoe runs 300 to 500 miles, I actually feel like these are like, I don't know, 800 to 1,000 miles per shoe. So like, I think that's something to be considered when you are looking at shoes. If you're someone who wants to only buy like 1 or 2 shoes for the year and you're doing, you know, anywhere from 20 to 30 mile weeks and you're just kind of getting out to run, pretty great shoe if they fit you. If they fit your foot and everything else locks in there. And they could be like your only shoe for like the year, honestly. So pretty good deal in that sense. But in terms of deals, I do have to say they do retail at $180 USD. So you're comparing these, it's kind of in that gray area of $200, you know, Super Blast, the $170 Endorphin Speed. Those are 2 shoes that are kind of on the edges of this that that are really great training shoes that can also go fast. I don't think these are made to go fast. I think they're made to give you the option in the middle of kind of a long run or something like that to throw in some threshold work. Whereas the Endorphin Speed is definitely a shoe that is made for threshold work, long run stuff. You can really do it all in those, but they are much softer. So if you want the firmer ride, this is a great shoe for you. Okay, so this is going to be the longest video I've ever produced, and I think I'm just going to cut it there. That's kind of my On Cloudeclipse review, my down week of miles, and I'm really looking forward to getting into more miles this week. We're hoping to get 47, and yeah, enjoy the miles, enjoy yourselves out there, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Coffee. That was so much talking. Okay.